Hey, my fellow listeners. We know you guys love these creepy stories, yet most of you aren't subscribing. Please hit that sub button and join the family. Hit the bell icon so you never miss another video. You'll also be supporting me. Thank you. I was broke, really broke. From the beginning, from the moment I truly understood that this job would be nothing like I expected, the interview itself was normal. Held in a small, windowless office tucked behind the Vision Center, the manager, a woman named Donna with a smile that didn't reach her eyes, asked the standard questions, my availability, my customer service experience. It was all so mundane that I felt a wave of relief. This was just a job. A big, boring corporate gig to pay the bills. She offered me the position on the spot for the graveyard shift, stalker and asset protection. I accepted immediately. The first sign that things were different should have been the orientation. It wasn't in that office. It was in the break room at 11 p.m. on a Sunday. The air thick with the ghost of 1,000 microwave dinners. Jerry was there, a man who looked like he'd been carved from gristle and regret. He didn't have a PowerPoint or a welcome video. He had a single, coffee-stained notebook. He didn't read from it. He just talked. His voice, a low, steady monotone that demanded attention not through volume, but through a profound and unsettling seriousness. He began not with rules, but with observations. He said the building is old, older than the city around it, that this plot of land had a history the Walmart was built right on top of, and that the building, in its own way, remembers. He said we are night watchmen in a museum of echoes, and our primary duty is to not disturb the exhibits. Then he got to the practicalities. The first thing he explained was the floor. You'll feel it eventually, a slight tilt. It's subtle. Most people write it off as a trick of the eye or a wonky wheel on a shopping cart. It's not. The entire structure lists just a fraction of an inch towards the back receiving doors. It's a physical fact of the building's settling, he said, but it has consequences. Between 2:11 and 2:22 a.m., this tilt becomes pronounced. It's not the floor that changes, it's your perception of it, your inner ear, your sense of balance. It all gets pulled. It feels like you're standing on a ship that's beginning to capsize. If you're on the sales floor during that time, you will find it difficult to walk forward. Your steps will become a struggle. A fight against a gravity that has suddenly chosen a new favorite direction. The break room is a neutral zone. The pull doesn't exist in here. So you will be in here. You will not be a hero. You will not go to help a customer. You will sit, and you will wait. My first encounter with this was less dramatic than the chip bag incident I mentioned before. It was my third night. I was zoning the endless wall of televisions, all showing the same default screensaver of a glowing lake at dusk. I was focused on making the boxes line up perfectly. A mindless task I found soothing. I felt a little dizzy. I thought I was just tired. I leaned against the shelf for a second, and when I looked down, my keys, which I had placed on the floor next to my water bottle, were sliding, not rolling, but sliding smoothly as if on ice, in a perfectly straight line towards the back of the store. They moved slowly, deliberately, covering about 6 inches before they stopped the moment the clock on my phone ticked over to 2:22. I looked around. The store was silent. The televisions now showed a strange, shifting static pattern I'd never seen before. I never made that mistake again. The second rule, the one about the mannequins, came with a story. Jerry told us about a guy named Roy. Worked here about 5 years back. Roy was a joker, thought the rules were for suckers. He saw one of the mannequins in apparel with a face, a old woman's face, wrinkled and kind, with a faint smile. Roy thought it would be funny to put a baseball cap on it. He took a hat from Sporting Goods, walked right up, and placed it on the mannequin's head. The story goes that the mannequin's head turned just a few degrees, and the kind eyes were not kind anymore. Roy didn't scream. He just walked out of the store and never came back. But they found the baseball cap the next morning. It was in the men's restroom, stuffed into the toilet. But it wasn't wet. It was dry and cold, and it was filled with what looked like fresh, dark topsoil. Jerry said we don't touch them. We don't dress them. We don't even look at them for too long. If you see a face, you acknowledge it with a nod, a sign of respect, and then you go to hardware and you tighten bolts. You focus on a simple mechanical task. You remind yourself of a world where things fit together, where a nut turns on a bolt and things become secure. It grounds you. It brings you back from the edge of that other world where faces grow on plastic like mold. The pet food aisle is where the job gets physical. The can of feast isn't just swollen, it's alive. Not in an animal way, but in a geological way, like a hot spring bubbling up from deep underground. The first time Jerry showed me, he made me put my hand near it. Not on it, just near it. I could feel the heat radiating from the metal, a moist, biological heat, and I could hear it, a faint, wet, squelching sound from inside, like something kneading dough. Your job, he said, is to move the offering. You don't carry it like a bomb. You carry it like a sacrament. You shuffle so you don't trip, because if you fall, if that can burst open before it reaches the cold storage door, the cleanup is not something anyone wants to talk about. The shuffle walk is the longest 2 minutes of your life. The can gets heavier with every step, the heat seeping through your gloves, the pulsing inside sensing up with your own heartbeat until you can't tell which is which. You set it down gently on the concrete in front of that heavy, always locked metal door. And you walk away. You never look back, but you always hear it, the click of the lock, the wet, sucking sound of the door opening just a crack, the pop of the can being breached, and then the long, slow, dragging sound, like a heavy sack of wet leaves being pulled across the floor. One night, I was sick. My sinuses were packed, and I couldn't hear properly. I did the shuffle walk, set the can down, and walked away, but I didn't hear the click. I didn't hear the pop. All I heard was silence, a deep, profound silence that seemed to swallow all the other sounds of the store, the hum of the freezers, the buzz of the lights. It was all gone. I felt an urge, a terrible, crushing urge to turn around and see why it was so quiet. My neck muscles tensed. My head began to turn, but Jerry was there. He had been watching from the end of the aisle. He didn't yell. He just clicked his tongue twice. A sharp, familiar sound that cut through the silence. It broke the spell. I faced forward and kept walking. The sounds returned a moment later. The click, the pop, the drag. Jerry never mentioned it. He just gave me a look that said, "The rules are there for a reason, even the ones about listening. The intercom numbers are a different kind of problem. A psychological one. The human brain is pattern-seeking. It wants to remember a sequence of 7 digits, especially when it's recited in that flat, automated female voice the intercom uses. The voice says the numbers with a strange cadence, a pause after the area code that makes it sound like a sigh. The rule is to forget it, to actively purge it from your mind, to think about your grocery list, to sing a song in your head, to do anything but dwell on that number. Because if you do, if you let it take root, you'll find yourself near a phone. Your fingers will itch. You'll feel a compulsion to dial, to see who or what is on the other end. Stacy wasn't the only one. There was another guy, before my time. They say he wrote the number on a piece of receipt paper and called it a week later from his apartment. He told his roommate he was going out for cigarettes and never came back. They found his car a month later parked at a trailhead out in Red Rock Canyon. The driver's side door was open. The keys were in the ignition. And on the passenger seat was the receipt with the phone number on it. And sitting neatly on top of the receipt was a single, dry, orange label from a can of cat food. The word feast clearly visible. The water fountain is the most blatantly wrong thing in the entire store. It looks normal. A standard, chrome unit, of course. Let me give you the full, unvarnished weight of it. Starting with that chrome water fountain, it's positioned in a small alcove between the restrooms, a spot that always feels 10 degrees colder than the rest of the store. No matter how high the AC is cranked, the chrome is never smudged, never shows a fingerprint, as if it repels the very idea of human touch. The water itself is the problem. It's not just cold, it's a deep, ancient cold that seems to suck the warmth right out of the air around it. When it flows, it doesn't make the cheerful splashing sound you'd expect. It's a silent, perfect arc, a ribbon of liquid that looks more like glass than water. The rule about it isn't just a suggestion, It's a mantra beaten into us. You don't drink. You don't let anyone else drink. You become its guardian, its bouncer. I've developed a whole routine for it. If I see someone, usually a disoriented night owl or a kid dragging behind their tired parent, heading towards that alcove, I spring into action. It's a delicate dance. You can't seem too eager, too frantic. That just makes people suspicious. I'll casually step into their path, putting on my best helpful employee face. "Excuse me, sir. Can I help you find something?" I'll ask, my voice deliberately light. If they brush me off, saying they're just thirsty, I'll lie smoothly. "Oh, I'm sorry. That one's been out of order for weeks. Plumbing issue. We've got bottled water on sale in aisle 10. Let me show you." And I'll gently shepherd them away, my body subtly positioned to block their view of the fountain. One time, a man was insistent. He was a big guy. Construction worker maybe, covered in drywall dust. He grumbled that he didn't want to pay for water, that the fountain was right there. I saw his hand reach for the button. In a moment of pure panic, I fumbled the water bottle I was holding, the cheap plastic one I carry for this exact purpose. It hit the floor and erupted, sending a spray of water across his boots. He jumped back, cursing, but the distraction worked. He was annoyed now. Not thirsty, he stomped off towards the exit. Muttering about incompetence, I stood there, heart hammering against my ribs, cleaning up the spill with trembling hands. Jerry gave me a slow nod from across the store. I had passed the test. But Carlos, the janitor, he didn't have anyone to look out for him. He was new, from a temp agency, and he didn't understand the silent language of our shifts. He was a small man with a bright smile, always whistling old Mexican folk songs that echoed softly in the empty aisles. I was restocking the rack of gossip magazines and travel-sized toothpaste near the front. I saw him push his cleaning cart towards the restrooms. He paused, wiped his brow with a bandana, and looked at the fountain. I was about to call out, to stop him, but it was too late. He was already bending down, his finger pressing the stainless steel button. The water didn't fall. It unspooled from the spout, a liquid tentacle that moved with a purpose that was utterly alien. It was quick, so quick, it touched his lips before his brain could even register that the physics of it were all wrong. He stood up, his body straightening in a jerky, marionette-like motion, the cheerful whistle dying in his throat. Cut off as if by a switch, his eyes, once bright and lively, were now blank, but not empty. That's the part that haunts me. They were full of a deep, placid understanding, a knowledge that had no business being on a human face. It was the look of someone who had seen the blueprint of the universe and found it to be perfectly sensible and perfectly horrifying. He turned, his movements fluid now, but devoid of any personal rhythm. He walked past me, his cart and supplies abandoned. He pushed open the heavy emergency exit door, but it didn't swing wide. It seemed to ripple around him. He didn't so much walk through it as he was absorbed by it. Vanishing into the neon-drenched Las Vegas night without a sound, the alarm never went off. The door settled back into its frame with a soft sigh. The store was silent again, but it was a different kind of silence, a satisfied silence. I looked back at the fountain. The basin was dry. Not a drop of water remained. It stayed that way for 3 days, a stark, empty crumble, a monument to what it had consumed. On the 4th day, the water was back, flowing in that same silent, frigid arc, as if nothing had ever happened. These big rules, the tilt, the mannequins, the can, the fountain, they form the framework of our night. But it's the smaller, unwritten rules that truly weave the tapestry of our reality here. The phone at the jewelry counter. For instance, it's an old, beige rotary phone that looks like a prop from another era. It rings with a shrill, insistent jangle that cuts through the store's hum. The rule is you never answer it. You let it ring until it stops, which it always does after exactly 13 rings. One night, a new cashier named Beth, eager to prove herself, sprinted over and picked up the receiver before any of us could stop her. She didn't say hello. She just listened. Her face went pale, her hand gripping the counter so hard her knuckles were white. She hung up slowly. When we asked her what she heard, she wouldn't speak. She just kept shaking her head. Later, she wrote on a napkin that it was the intercom number the same 7 digits we're supposed to forget. But it was being whispered backwards, and underneath the whisper, she said, was a sound like something large breathing through wet cloth. She quit the next day. Then there's the bottom shelf of aisle 7, housewares. It's a perfectly normal-looking shelf. But if you place anything red on it, a red mixing bowl, a set of red measuring cups, a red plastic tumbler, it will not be there in the morning. Sometimes the items are found shattered into a fine, almost powdery dust. Sometimes they're melted into a single, unidentifiable lump of plastic that's warm to the touch, and sometimes they're just gone, vanished without a trace. We don't know why, we just know not to do it. We carefully zone that shelf, ensuring only blue, yellow, or green items ever occupy that space. It's a tiny, constant adjustment. A quiet agreement with the building's peculiar tastes. And the shadows, you have to be mindful of your shadow after midnight. The fluorescent lights cast them long and distorted across the polished floor. The main automatic doors are the danger zone. If you see your shadow stretching towards them, you step quickly to the side, break the connection. The doors have been known to slide open for a shadow that touches them. And when they do, they don't reveal the parking lot. They reveal a deep, impenetrable darkness, and sometimes, something from that darkness steps through. It's never anything you can clearly see. It's more a shift in the air pressure, a fleeting shape seen from the corner of your eye, a feeling of being watched from a point in the room where no one is standing. When that happens, the protocol is to go to the fabric table in crafts and pretend to be intensely interested in the patterned books until the feeling dissipates. Jerry, who has been here for 12 long years, once tried to explain it to me over a cup of his bitter black coffee. He said the building isn't haunted in the ghost sense. That's too simple, too human-centric. He said this place is a nexus, a weak spot, a place where the wallpaper of reality is thin and worn, and something from the other side is constantly pressing against it, testing its strength. The rules, he said, all the big and little rituals we perform, they are the patches, the duct tape, and the chewing gum we use to hold the wallpaper in place. Our job isn't to fight what's on the other side. It's maintenance, pure and simple. We are the night crew, the custodians of the veil. We smooth the edges. We reinforce the weak spots. We make sure nothing tears too wide. The pay is good. The benefits are great. You get used to the rhythm. The weight, the constant, low-level hum of wrongness becomes the soundtrack to your life. The tilt of the floor starts to feel like a gentle hand guiding you to safety during those crucial minutes. The shuffle walk with the hot, pulsing can become a solemn ritual, a duty that gives the long, dark hours a profound meaning. The silence that follows after you set the can down and walk away feels less like dread and more like a prayer being answered. You become accustomed to the pressure. It becomes your normal. And the thought of working somewhere else, somewhere under the bright, honest sun, in a place that is loud and normal and devoid of these sacred, terrifying rules, that feels more alien and more terrifying than any hungry water fountain or any mannequin with a stolen face. This Walmart, with its silent agreements and its bizarre ecology, has become my church, my asylum, my anchor in a world that has never made much sense to begin with. And I will follow its strange, sacred rules. I will be a good custodian until the day the doors finally decide not to open for me anymore.